Hello my friends, welcome to some more science. I love science, you love science, and science. So recently I made a video discussing whether the new, comparing all the three DLCs, trying to figure out which one offers the best value in terms of numbers. The most amount of quests, the most amount of items, the most amount of outfits, resources, all that stuff. You can check that video out from last week, but today I'm including Honeyglow Woods into that comparison because now we have all the data, we have all the numbers, and I also added a couple extra categories. For example, like landscaping, comparing the trees, underbush, and rocks that were included with the DLC, which I think is, for most DLCs, is the best value ever. And also we're going to be comparing the Honeyglow Woods. So this column verdict is basically saying if the value of this category inside this DLC is better or worse or about the same than the other DLCs. And there's two modes that I can switch from. Right now we are on the lowest mode, which means it compares to the lowest number between all three DLCs. For example, if crafting, we compare it to the Storybook Vale because there was only 66 craftable furniture items in this DLC. And we're going to compare to this number. We also take into account, this is actually wrong, my bad. This is the percentage of how the price of the adventure pack versus the DLC, which is I'm taking $17 and $30, which means the adventure pack costs about 57% of the full DLC price. So with this into account, we're going to calculate if the Honeyglow Woods actually better on paper or better value than the full-blown DLCs. Now, I'm gonna just give a disclaimer. Obviously, people love Honeyglow Woods. Universally, I see people say that it's so much better than Wish Blossom Range, and some people say it's the best DLC we've ever had. And this cannot be quantified. You cannot just use numbers to determine which DLC is better or worse, because it's not just about quantity, it's about quality. But let's look at the numbers first, and then we're going to figure out if the numbers actually support majority of people thinking that Honeyglow Woods offers better value than other DLC. So if you like science videos, subscribe, and let's do this. So, I don't know which mode to use to compare, because the lowest, it doesn't necessarily compare, like, because it's not fair, because some values, some numbers are going to be lower in some DLCs and higher in other DLCs. For example, some DLCs can have less furniture but more outfits, or have less mining resources but more flowers, for example. So if we always pick the lowest, it might actually give us an unfair advantage to the DLC. So I think it's going to be more fair to switch to average, which means it's going to calculate the average of all three DLCs in this category and then give us the verdict. I feel like this is probably going to be more fair, but we can do comparison in both. But let's start with average. Crafting. How many craftable furniture is in Honeyglow Woods? And there is 34 items, which is significantly worse. Well, not significantly, just worse. Basically, if the gap is more than 50%, it's going to say much better or much worse. If it's between 50 and 10%, it's going to be just better or worse. And if it's within 10% gap, then it's just going to say about the same. So crafting, the Honeyglow Woods, unfortunately, loses just purely by numbers, even to Wish Blossom Range. In fact, Wish Blossom Range has the highest amount of craftable items. It also loses in Scrooge store items because even with the Rift in Time basically having 0 in my data, the amount of Scrooge items is significantly lower. Alright, moving on. Quest rewards, we're actually smoking because quest rewards is higher than any other DLC, which means that even despite it being almost half the price, it has the highest amount of quest rewards, which is incredible. So in total, in furniture, unfortunately, we get the verdict worse. The Honeyglow Woods is worse on average in numbers, in amounts of furniture that we get from all the DLCs. If we switch this to the lowest, we actually get about the same. The crafting is going to be about the same if we compare it to Storybook Vale only because it had the least amount of crafting. So on these parameters, it's about the same, but for the averages, it's actually worse. Let's move to the clothing. And the clothing we absolutely destroy. On either average or the lowest, there is more clothing in this DLC. There is so many clothing items, quest rewards. It's kind of crazy. And in total, we have more clothing than any other DLC besides Storybook Vale, which is absolutely incredible. Now, it mostly comes from the fact that there is a lot of outfits that come with multiple pieces. So there is no dresses or costumes that just come in one piece, which a lot of characters in other DLCs do have as their friendship quest rewards. Here we get sets of 5, 6, 7, 8 items as a quest reward, which does inflate this number a little bit, but the fact is the number is higher. Next, moving on to the new category that I just added that wasn't in the previous comparison, is landscaping. Trees, underbush, and rocks, all three. And in this case, we lost once again. Except the rocks. The rocks are actually a pretty decent number. We have 5, which beats out their average. But we only have 14 trees in the whole Honeyglow Wood expansion, compared to, let's say, 81 in Storybook Vale. 81! It's insane. And even if we take averages, it's still worse. Underbush, we have only 6 versus, let's say, 22 in Wish Blossom range. And I personally love landscaping items in the new DLC. I think they're great, but purely in numbers, unfortunately, we're gonna have to take a loss. But if we go to the lowest, if we compare, let's say, trees with a Rift in Time, we only had 18, so we are smoking it. Same with Underbush. If we compare it to Storybook Vale, that only had 6 Underbush items, we once again absolutely smoking it in value. So it's between about the same and worse for all the categories so far besides clothing. Companions, we got 5 versus 20 or 14 in other DLCs. Loss. Meals, only 12 recipes. I was making fun of Wish Blossom range for only having 36 recipes. Look at this comparison. How much less meals we're having with each next DLC. Only 12. Granted, all 12 are unlocked from the start. You have all the recipes immediately accessible. You don't have to try to guess them. So that's good, I guess. But we got absolutely destroyed on meals. We got destroyed on crops as well. Only 3 new crops. Only 3 new seeds. Forageables, about the same. And once again, we're not talking numbers. This verdict takes into account the price difference. So we calculate the adventure pack price versus full DLC price and then comparing the value. So the value is already taken into account, which means forageables, having 6 forageables, it's about the same as the average, considering the price. You know what I'm trying to say. We're comparing the value, not the number itself. Same with flowers. Flowers, we got 8, which is on average about the same as the amount of flowers we get from the DLC per dollar. Mining and fishing is significantly worse. Significantly worse. There's only 2 gems and 1 extra resource that we can get from it. And the rest of the DLCs have at least 13. Once again, purely the number. To me personally, it doesn't matter. I'm kind of glad that we don't have a lot of resources, which means it's going to be very easy to organize. And frankly, we don't really need that many new resources. We already have so many different gems, so many different spices, kinds of woods, kind of mineable materials. I kind of like having light resources on the DLC, but I know not everybody likes that. A lot of people do enjoy having as many new resources as possible, so the numbers don't lie. So overall, for the other item types, I feel like we're gonna have to take a loss as well. So far, every single category besides clothing is a loss, and even clothing is winning mostly because all the rewards come with multi-item outfits, not just the costume, but split up on every single category, which does inflate it a little bit, but we'll take the win where we can get one, right? Now let's get to the quests. This is actually where we get to take a little win, which is also very nice. There is 19 main story quests, which is just a slightly higher number than the Wish Blossom range. But on average, there is much more story quests per dollar in the mini DLC. And honestly, I enjoyed the quests a lot. I feel like they put a lot of effort into it. They didn't feel... Well, they were still... Some of them were a little bit repetitive, but there was a lot of unique mechanics in there. And, I don't know, just the quests were really fun. Like doing the tail for the Eeyore, the tree puzzles, every single puzzle had... every single area had different puzzles to get the honey pots. It's incredible. I really enjoyed the quest. So it's not just the quantity win, it's also the quality win, in my opinion. I feel like it's probably the strongest part of the new extension. Friendship quests is a little bit worse, but that's mostly because we have less characters, which makes sense. And also Rift in Time had ridiculously high amount of friendship quests. It was a little bit inflated, so I would say in total, I would still give a win to the Honeyglow Woods in terms of quests. And another category that we didn't have before is characters and world. We have characters and new biomes. Characters, the new DLC actually wins because having 3 characters is better value per character than we get from any other DLC. And I feel like it's even more enhanced by the fact that all of these characters are from the same franchise, which means you're probably gonna love them all. And if you hate them, you probably wouldn't buy DLC no matter what. Next, we got the biomes. And here we got smoked. 4 biomes versus at least 10 in Storybook Fail. I'm gonna be honest, I like it. I like having less biomes, and it's gonna be much easier to navigate the area. It's gonna be much easier to decorate because you still have the same item limit for 4 items. A lot of people complain about Wish Blossom range that it felt very empty and too large, which makes sense. It has the biggest amount of biomes and probably the biggest biomes overall. So even though the number of biomes loses versus average, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think I'm gonna enjoy decorating Honeyglow Woods much more than any of those giant places where I have to ration my items so hard that in the end it just becomes frustrating, at least in my experience. So to summarize, this is interesting data. The only 3 categories where I would give a win to Honeyglow Woods in terms of numbers is characters, clothing. Once again, this is a very shaky win. And quests. Quests is like the most definitive win of the Honeyglow Woods. The quality of the quantity of quests were insane. Everything else, it loses to other DLCs. So why does so many people say that Honeyglow Woods is the best DLC we've ever gotten, even if the numbers kind of say that it kind of gets smoked in almost every category by other DLCs? Well, it's mostly because the quantity is not everything. I would rather take 3 characters that I love versus 5 characters where half of them I don't care about. If I like the aesthetic of, let's say, only 1 biome in the DLC. I know a lot of people hate the Gulch, but a lot of people love Pixie Acres. So does that mean that most of the biomes that you got you don't even like? So better to have less biomes that you like all of them versus having more biomes, some of them you don't like. Is there actual point in having more resources? Like, how does it help us if we have more fish, more mining resources? It's just more things that you need to worry about, more things you need to store, more things to keep track of. I do believe it makes much more sense to reuse some of the base game items and just mix and match with the small number of new resources that come in the new DLC. This way it's going to be much easier to stockpile resources. You can just grind the base game resources and you can be sure that they're going to be useful even in upcoming DLCs. And once again, I know a lot of people would disagree with this, and a lot of people love having lots of new resources. I personally enjoy having this modest amount of new stuff added. So for me, that is a benefit. This is one of the reasons, one of the pluses of the new DLC is the limited number of new resources. But the most important reason why everybody loves Honeyglow Woods over every other DLC is because of how cohesive it is. I have seen that word so many times, and I completely agree. I've played for 5.5 hours. I haven't got bored for a second. I literally played until I unlock every single biome. All the biomes feel connected, all the biomes make sense, and most importantly, the story just flows so nicely because it's just set in one franchise, one world. The biomes do feel very unique. Since I got in here, I have not thought about Wish Blossom Range once. There is absolutely no resemblance between any of the biomes that we have here and Wish Blossom Range. I feel like a lot of people who thought that, after playing the expansion, would probably agree with it too. It's absolutely beautiful to have a world where the biomes match the characters. They literally created one biome that matches the personality of each and every character, and seeing them in there, discovering those characters in there, interacting with them, helping them fix the world they live in, is just beautiful. The way they captured the essence of every character in this DLC is incredible, and I feel like it also helps with perception, the fact that you either love this DLC or hate it. If you're not Winnie the Pooh fan, you're not even going to be interested in buying it, so you're not even going to have a negative opinion. But if you are a fan of Winnie the Pooh, you literally have nothing to be upset about, because there's no extra characters, there is nothing like outside of the franchise that you love, which means the overall feeling of positive towards this DLC is going to be higher, which makes perfect sense. Despite the number of furniture being lower than other DLCs, the furniture in here actually makes sense. It fits the beloved franchise. There is no like random items that you might not care about. If you care about Winnie the Pooh, you're gonna love all the items. And that is why I think that adventure packs is just the way forward. It's an easy way to give people what they want, while some people making it very easy decision. If you're not into a certain franchise, you just skip out on this adventure pack or get it anyway, because it might still come with some items that you like. So despite the numbers telling one story, the experience that players have tells a completely different story. So yeah, that is pretty much the point of this video. Numbers aren't everything. I do think this DLC is a great value, and I think if you are a fan of Winnie the Pooh, you are not going to be disappointed. The quests are incredible. Just seeing the characters, interacting with them, the quality of all the items I've seen so far is top-notch. And I know there's a few bugs, but there's been bugs in every single DLC we've ever gotten. So it's not new to this DLC, and I'm sure it's going to get fixed eventually. Overall, great experience, great execution of the new concept. Gameloft listened to the feedback, fixed a lot of the feedback people had for the DLCs in the adventure pack, and I think they're going to just keep improving it and making it even better and better value with all upcoming adventure packs, and it's going to be great for everybody. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you agree that Wish Blossom Range is the best DLC we've ever had, despite losing in most of the categories to other DLCs in numbers? And just, what do you think about it overall? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Subscribe for more science, and goodbye.
Oh, nice day we're having, isn't it?
Oh, it's wonderful. Woohoo!
Amazing. Gotta tell you, it is really beautiful here. Hey, nice to see you.
Oh,